But opening week is always, I say, just that. I really don't think in a sense it's part of football season, but it does count on the record. So you're either 0-1 or 1-0, or like the 12 schools that couldn't finish their game, they're still 0-0. But interesting thing, Bovina's head coach actually didn't start until Monday because he came back from retiree hire. So he didn't have an email or nothing until Monday. And luckily their game got canceled, so we don't have to worry about an interim coach for one game. DeSoto, don't know what happened there. I guess Creekside went and found a bunch of kids to play football and got even with DeSoto for last year's game. I know North Crowley and Lancaster, like last year, had a heck of a game, and it went down to the wire, and North Crowley again won, just like they did last year. Katy got upset by Dickinson. Uh, an interesting note about Katy, they haven't lost two regular season games since 2016, and they're favored to lose this week versus the Atascocita. And Gary Joseph's only lost two regular season games or more twice in his career. The other time being in 2008, he went 7-3 in the regular season and then won state. So you know how that goes. You get in the playoffs and you got a shot. The old little Southwest Conference went 0-6 this week, and that's very unusual for those guys out west. Some big games this week: Aledo, Lancaster, North Crowley, DeSoto, Tascasita, Katy. We'll see what happens in those games.
Coach Buck, I'm going to let you, like I said, talk a little bit about Denton Guyer and Aledo. Sounds like it was a great one out there.
It was one of the most physical football games I watched in a while. Reed Helm's a big defensive guy too, and Robbie Jones. When I hired Robbie back in 2000, he was coaching linebackers for us and D tackles. So he's got a good defensive mind too, and it was physical. Came down to the wire, 21-14 game, but neither team threw the ball very well, just because both of them are extremely talented in the back end, and both of them had a pretty good pass rush, which quarterbacks didn't have much time. But Aledo was able to, just do what they do and figure out a way to get in the end zone. But I'm gonna tell you, the quarterback from Denton Guyer might be the toughest kid I've ever seen, because Aledo was knocking the crud out of him, and he just kept running over him and getting right back up. He's going to be a really, really good player for Guyer this year, and I expect both of them to continue to do well.
One thing that I wanted to get y'all's perspective on, because Carl mentioned that Creekside and DeSoto, Coach Shipley, Coach Buck, I mean, you've obviously coached a lot of teams, but what do y'all think about those out-of-state matchups? I mean, I know y'all said even like in week one, you like to be the away team because there's so many distractions. Seems like there would be a ton of distractions with that as well, but kind of curious to get y'all's thoughts on, like I said, those out-of-state matchups.
Well, I could tell you, I never played an out-of-state matchup because there was a lot of years people wanted to play us, and so Coach Buck could probably talk more about that than I can, because when you're Aledo Bearcats, nobody wants to play you in preseason. I don't know how you fill your schedule, and sometimes you have to go out of state to do it, but. I remember one time, Temple High School with Bob McQueen, we played Midland Lee and flew out to Midland from Temple, and that was a tough thing, to get your kids on an airplane that most of them had never flown on a plane before, and so that was I think Spike Dykes was at Midland Lee at the time, and anyway, that was a good series for us, but it creates an awful lot of unknowns for your team, for sure.
We did a bunch of it. It went all the way back to 1999 when we got invited to go play in the Disney World Kickoff Classic. But we took our varsity and JV cheerleaders. I think it was 3 charter planes before it was all done, and flew to Florida and spent Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and came back on Sunday. And it was a great experience for the kids. Kind of like Bob said, we had kids that never been out of Parker County, much less got on a commercial airplane and flew to Florida. It was a really neat trip for them. But later on, after we started winning a few state championships, it got to where we couldn't schedule games. People, we were 4A or 5A, whatever, the second highest class, and the class above us didn't want to play us because if we beat them, it was a no-win situation for them. And then the guys in our class didn't really want to play us either because they thought we were so good. And next thing you know, we scheduled a team out of Old Mexico that was really the first couple of years we played them, one of the best teams we played. They had beaten Stephenville the week before they played us, which scared the heck out of us. And Stephenville had beaten us. So it was a little bit of fear in it because, the hardest thing about it is you can't get video on. I mean, it's all, if you get it, it's a year old, maybe 2 years old. But we've played teams out of California. Bishop and Mott came in. I didn't help Coach Wood out. His first year as a head coach, I'd scheduled Bishop and Mott, and they came in and just throttled us, kind of did to us. Not as bad as what just happened to DeSoto, but very similar. And but we'd played teams out of Mississippi, Florida, and then we went to the Shreveport, Battle on the Border, and played the team out of Arkansas back in 2000. I believe that was 18. So it's a neat deal. Thing I liked about it is the school had a chance to make money if it's a home game, because you don't have to split the pot with them. You just pay them $10,000 to come, and then if you got a $50,000 gate, the school makes more money.
Hey, Blake, one thing I forgot to mention, LaPorte ISD opened their new stadium on Friday, and I was there. Great game against Deer Park. LaPorte won deep in the fourth quarter, 35-31, but that stadium is the prettiest one I've ever seen. It's a double decker pretty much all the way around. Only 7 rows in the bottom deck, 9 rows in the top deck. So all the sight lines are real close to the field. It's just absolutely beautiful what they did there.
Yeah, I've seen pictures online. It looks very nice for sure. Well, I wanted to, Carl, you kind of alluded to it at the opening, but a lot of good games going on this week. Talking about Aledo, they're going to play Lancaster, who nearly knocked off North Crowley. Was talking with Jerry Hamilton earlier, South Oak Cliff and Duncanville. There's, I think what he told me, around 30 future Division I prospects in that game, which is just mind blowing to me. DeSoto, North Crowley. I mean, there is a lot of good football around the state. Any games stick out to you guys, ones that you may be excited about, that you may even be going attending?
I'll tell you what, it'll be interesting to see how much, the teams improve. Like Buck said last week, the biggest improvements from week 1 to week 2. You got a DeSoto squad kind of hurting after their game last Saturday. You got North Crowley that escaped with their lives in a sense, playing Lancaster. So we'll see just where that goes. When you get to Lancaster and Aledo, Aledo won by 7 last week. Buck said they didn't have much of a passing game. Lancaster is usually a team with a lot of speed. And we'll see if they've got the emotional momentum after the North Crowley game to continue against Aledo and make that a genuine fight for 4 quarters.
Coach Buck, Coach Shipley, either one of y'all?
Go ahead, Bob.
Well, I'm kind of out here in that old little Southwest Conference, so there's some games that are not grabbing the headlines necessarily, but Abilene High had a big week. I thought Abilene High was in the old Southwest Conference, Carl.
Well, they're in 5A now, so the 6A conference,
right.
District 3, they all lost. So,
yeah. Well, anyway, not as much high school football going on out here as there is other places. There's a big one up in Amarillo, Caprock, and Palo Duro to see who can get on the winning side of things. But I don't know. There's a lot of good games, and the fun thing now is what I usually do is stay home and watch on watch them streamed online because I can watch games of interest and switch around and see how my buddies are doing.
Yeah, we got to get Bobby and Jerry to start streaming and maybe do a game themselves every Friday. High school.
There you go. I think that the Duncanville South Oak Cliff game is going to be a barn burner. With Sock beating North Shore, which surprised a lot of people. I don't think anybody saw that coming. Sock has got a really good football team this year. Should be fun. Should be fun. Now, I'm going to watch Brewer and Lake Dallas. I worked as Brewer White Settlement hired me as a consultant this year, and I helped them evaluate their program, helped them hire their head coach. So they got their first home game. So I got to go watch Marty Amrine and try to not destroy my consulting business before it gets going. Hopefully he'll go 2-0 this week.
Hey, Coach Shipley, I did want to say there was a pretty big game out by you last week with Albany and Stanford, and Albany wins that one. I think it was like a top 5, top 10 matchup. So pretty big game out west there, and I'm not too far from you, but for our neck of the woods, that's about as big as it gets.
Yeah, it is. Coach Hutch, came back to Stanford and really, I was a little bit surprised. And, the one thing about those small towns all across the state, but as you alluded to out here, you can go from state champion one year to maybe, tradition of those two schools is going to carry them through. And now that they take more teams to the playoffs, but you can have a huge swing in your talent from one year to another. And it's amazing the consistency that those two schools have had. I was a little bit surprised, honestly, when Albany won. I thought Stanford was going to win that game, but two good coaches, two legends out in this part of the world with Diddy Faith, and he's a friend of mine. I've known Denny for I can't even tell you how many decades I've known him, but what a great guy, and two good programs and two towns that love their high school football.
And the view from Albany Stadium is one of my favorites as well. Very cool out there for sure.
It is.
All right, guys. Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about today and kind of get y'all's take on it is there was a recent anonymous recruit survey, and they asked, I think it was about 50-ish kids, or well, I say kids, prospects or future prospects, college prospects, certain questions. One of those questions was they had them list on a scale from 1 to 10 how they felt their high school coaches were helping them get recruited. Now, remember, these are all in the state of Texas, so we're talking Texas high school football. 48% gave their coaching staff a perfect 10. 17.3 gave them a 9. 9.6 said 5. And only 13.4% gave their coaches a score of 4 or less. So overwhelming favorite there, saying the coaches are really helping them out. Coach Shipley, Coach Buck, y'all have had a lot of kids get recruited. Number one, my question to you is, what is a coach's job when it comes a high school coach's job when it comes to help kids get recruited? And number two, has that evolved or maybe devolved with, things like huddle and 7-on-7, that type of deal over the last few years?
Go ahead, Bob.
Well, I've been out of high school coaching since, I guess, 2016. So it's changed, I'm sure. I just remember back when, back when we would make highlights for, our players. And I'm not going to name any names, but one guy got a scholarship, and I went through every single play of the season, and I found 18 plays where he looked like he could play college football. The rest of them, and it's obvious that the staff never looked at the regular game film. So I put the highlights on there and then put game film after that. And I felt a little bit guilty about that because that old boy went up there for 5 years and they gave him a scholarship for 5 years. And I don't know if he ever stepped on the field. But sometimes, you do what you can to help the kids. But actually, that's not real smart because, you get a reputation. And I learned after that was early in my career being a head coach. And I learned after that that school didn't come and recruit any more of our players. They were out of state, so wasn't that big a deal. But coaches, they have to trust you, and you have to trust them. And so like I said, I learned from that you want to help your kids, but at the same time, you got to keep that relationship with those college coaches so that they'll trust you, so that when you do have a kid maybe that is under the radar or whatever, they'll listen to you. We had a kid come in, move into Burnett one time from a little 6-man school, Del City, out by El Paso. And he was 6'7", probably 210 or 15 pounds, and was a quarterback. And he could throw it a mile. And when he kicked off, he had a square-toe shoe, and it wasn't a matter of whether it was going to go in the end zone. It's whether it was going to go through the uprights. That's what everybody was looking for, and he could boom that thing out of there. Well, we had Stephen McGee on our team as a sophomore, who was later became the A&M quarterback, and he wasn't going to beat Stephen McGee out. He had an incredibly strong arm, but had bad mechanics and everything, and didn't understand the 11-man game. So we put him at tight end, and the guy wound up getting a scholarship and being a good player for the University of Arkansas. And he was one of those. He moved in his senior year, and so he was under the radar. No, he actually moved in his junior year, so he was under the radar. Had never been to a camp or anything like that. So occasionally you'll get a guy like that that'll come in that is a diamond in the rough. But I think relationships with those coaches are very important. When you call them, pick up the phone and call them, they've got to trust you and your evaluation, of kids. And I think that's probably one of the most important things. Although I think now it seems to me to be less. Some of the high school coaches are less involved in it than they used to be. I don't know, Buck. What do you think about that?
Well, it's changed definitely. I mean, you think back, Bob, when we first started, the only way they recruited is they had to come watch the kids play back then, because there was no video. They could we could show them film, 16 millimeter reel-to-reel film, but that wasn't anything like they can see today. They can get online and look at any kid they want to look at in the nation because of Huddle and digital highlights. But so it's changed. I was talking to a kid, Brock Newton, who played for Aledo, graduated in 2003. And we were talking about his recruiting process. This was just yesterday, actually. And he said, "How did you do it?" And I said, "Well, to do a highlight back there for one guy and try to do like Bob just talked about, try to find 15 to 20 highlights in a season on old VHS, it would take days to do one highlight for one kid. So it was a lot harder back then compared to what it is now. Now kids can do their own highlights on Huddle, but yeah, the problem has been coaches. When COVID hit, coaches quit coming around, and it took a while to get coaches to coming back to schools and getting back out on the road and recruiting. But as far as a high school coach, the hard part isn't getting the Division I players a scholarship. Those guys, they're going to find those cats. I mean, the colleges are going to find them. The hard part is getting the Division II kids and the NAIA kids and trying to help a kid get into Division III. That's where, as a head coach, you can help your kids because those kids, those guys don't have the budgets that the Division I schools do. And I'm sure the majority of our kids that played in college during my career were Division II and Division III kids, and a few in the NAIA. Those not that many Division I guys.
One of the other things that it mentioned, guys, was about 7-on-7, and I kind of found I never really thought about 7-on-7 helping recruiting, I guess, in a way, just because it's touch football, but it said that 50% thought that 7-on-7 helped their recruitment. Are any of y'all surprised by that, or what are y'all's thoughts on that in general?
Bob, you're in college. Tell us.
Well,
how many 7-on-7 games do college coaches get to go watch?
Yeah, 0. Yeah, but you just if a kid makes an incredible catch or a great defender or something like that, you get video of it. But I promise you, I've never sat in a recruiting meeting and watched 7-on-7 film. So maybe some of these select teams that these guys play on, which I don't like at all. I think if you're going to play, you need to play with your teammates, in my opinion. And I don't know if that's big anymore, but for a while there, it seemed like they were trying to get these super teams, of guys, and which I don't know that helps them at all. But it's not anything that I've ever sat in a staff meeting, at the Division I level and heard them, say, let's watch some 7-on-7 tape. It just doesn't happen.
I know, but parents and kids believe that 7-on-7. I mean, the last 4 years, I went through heck. We had a kid that he was missing workouts in the summer to go play 7-on-7 all over the country. I mean, his poor parents spent more money on plane tickets and playing coaches to coach the 7-on-7. And of course, those guys are telling, oh yeah, we're going to get you an offer by Alabama. We're going to get you an offer by Texas. And I'm sitting there going, and the kid did. He got a Division II offer. He's a good football player, but it's not what they're being told, and they are being misled by some of the guys that are coaching the 7-on-7, I believe, and some of the parents really believe it. We never played in the entire the state tournaments. Now we had teams, junior high teams that went down there, but once we got to high school, we played 4 games of 4 weeks of 7-on-7 in June. And they were on Tuesday nights, and that was it. We didn't go to tournaments. We didn't do all that stuff. I didn't. The 2 best 7-on-7 teams we ever had, we barely made the play. One of them didn't make the playoffs, and the other one barely made the playoffs. So not a whole lot of correlation between playing tackle football and playing touch football.
The hard part about 7-on-7 is you have so many illegal formations, especially on offense. You're throwing passes using the center as a shield. Everybody's on the line of scrimmage. They don't use running backs. On defense, you can't touch the player. And how 5 guys can get open with 7 defending is kind of interesting. But, all those things, you want to have the kids have the repetition of throwing the ball and catching the ball and defending, the pass. But on the other hand, how many bad habits are being had because of the different rules on 7-on-7 versus real football?
You're right, Carl. I know that was the thing I did not like about 7-on-7 was because, when you came out of spring football and they played their first 7-on-7, your quarterbacks are taking a 3-step drop and going through their progression and doing everything they're supposed to. By that 3rd week, quarterback standing on the line of scrimmage just watching. He's not going through reads. He's not going through drops. But by the UIL letting us work with them over the summer, we are able to – that is one good thing about that is when they do play 7-on-7, we're able to make sure they are running out more of our offense and doing it right, playing our defenses and running our schemes. So that part of it has gotten better, but I still don't think colleges recruit that way. If they do, good luck to them. They may look like a team that I ain't gonna mention the team, but when TCU beat up on North Carolina the other night, it looked like North Carolina was playing 7-on-7 all summer.
Oh man! All right. Well, for our final subject, the other thing I wanted to bring up, and obviously this is on Texas football. So Texas has a commit, Jermaine Bishop out of Willis, and out of all those kids that were surveyed, they named him the top player. I'm going to put his highlight film up on there. I sent it to all 3 of you, so hopefully y'all got to take a look at it. But I wanted y'all to just kind of break down what y'all like about Bishop, and we'll just, as I said, I'll take it here, Bob. We can start with you, and as we play the film here on screen, this is from his first game last week.
Yeah, he's incredible. I've watched him. I've watched him before, and he's just an incredible athlete, and obviously a game changer, and is a guy that as a surprising thing, Willis has had some good teams, but it's it's kind of hit or miss on recruiting. But for the guys all across the state, to name a guy from Willis the number one recruit in the state is says an awful lot about this young man, because it doesn't take a veteran college recruiter to watch his tape and go, yeah, this guy's a good player. I mean, anybody, if you don't even know football, you can watch this guy and you could tell he's a phenomenal athlete.
Carl?
I got to see him last year when they played the Woodlands, and Willis won on the last play field goal. They threw Germaine a bubble screen on the first play of the game, and he busted it for 70 yards. You see things like that, and you're just like, that's pretty darn incredible. And it was a speed thing that got him, down the sideline and beyond all the Woodlands kids who had really good speed on defense. You got a guy like that, he's a game changer, and hopefully he'll be that way at Texas.
Coach Buck?
I like him on defense. I think he's a really good offensive player, but he is special when he's on the defensive side of the ball. Texas needs him right now, I think.
Hey, guys, last week he had 8 receptions, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns, a forced fumble, and 6 tackles. So he turned in quite the performance. I mean, we're still watching the film. I mean, all of y'all have gone, and the film just now ended. So that should tell you something about his performance last week for sure. All right. Well, Carl, I don't think you ever told us where you're going this week. I'm interested to know.
I am actually going to go see the defending 5A Division I state champions, Smithson Valley, playing Brennan at Gus Stadium tonight. Tomorrow, I'm going to go see Reagan play Steele at Lenhoff, and Saturday, Alamo Heights and Churchill at Heroes. And the one thing I want to know is, how much is Comanche going to beat Llano by this week?
There's no need for bulletin board material. So, Comanche, for those that don't know, Comanche was Llano's lone loss last year. Then I think the only team to score like more than, Carl, you may correct me if I'm wrong, 25, 30-ish on them. And then they just went on a tear after that and started shutting people out and holding them to 10, maybe 14 points. So I think Llano's going to be looking for a little revenge, but we'll see what happens, Carl. That's all I'm going to say.
My experience is you can look for revenge all you want to. That doesn't mean you're going to get it.
I know that Coach Escobar is probably hoping that's the case for sure. So, all right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Fieldhouse. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Coach Buck, Carl Padilla, Bob Shipley, thank you all for joining me each and every week. And, of course, we'll be back same time, same place next week.